What would a native audio-based sharing platform look like? Is it audio Twitter? Is it SoundCloud? What even is it? What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Building Audea, where I talk about the ideas I have in terms of building my first technology startup called Audea. And today I'm going to be talking about what a native audio distribution platform truly looks like, in my opinion. Those of you who don't know what Audea is, I'm going to leave a bunch of information in the description, but at a very basic level, we are an audio-based distribution platform/network. And what that means is we allow people to primarily upload any form of audio content, but the main brand of what we're going to try to get people to care about posting is spoken word content, because that's the niche that we really want to capitalize on. And we give the potential for creators who are in the spoken word industry to be discovered on our platform. We want to be where you go to discover new spoken word audio ideas. And the larger goal 10, 15 years from now is to be one of the world's largest search engines for audio content. Now, what does that really mean? I think the first thing to really understand is that audio is exploding. It is exponentially growing at levels that are truly monumental based upon a simple thesis. People want to consume content, but they don't want to be committed to having to watch or read the content. They want to be able to passively consume it by doing other things. And that has led to the growth of more creators being able to communicate through audio, particularly spoken word, because music has always existed, but the average person who can't do music has spoken word available to them because almost everyone can speak, and the ability to be entertaining and informing and talk about a variety of different topics and produce a variety of different audio type of documentaries is what is grown the audio industry and is what I think is going to grow in the next 10 years. Now, with all this growth, I think there's a gap in the market space to capitalize on the ability for audio spoken word creators to get discovered. Now, what I mean by that is that there really is no platform, in my opinion, and I don't even know if it's an opinion, I think it might be a fact, where people can get discovered for being spoken word creators. There are platforms that distribute audio. Spotify, Apple, I mean, like there's literally a billion different podcast distribution applications. But in terms of the ability to be discovered, there really is only one platform, in my opinion. And it's really two, but the main one is YouTube. And the second one that I think is there is TikTok, because the algorithm actually recommends you to people, whereas on Instagram, like it is literally impossible. Not impossible, but it's very difficult because there's just too many people on it and they care a lot more about advertising dollars. So you have to pay to get your content out there. But on YouTube and TikTok, as saturated as YouTube is, TikTok's getting saturated, but it's not as saturated, so there's still the ability to organically reach people. As saturated as YouTube is, there are ways to get your content in front of other people outside of the algorithm recommending you, which if it does start to recommend you because you're creating consistent content and because you found your niche and all that type of stuff, then you can really start building a following. But if you're starting from zero, you can talk about things, if you're a spoken word communicator, that people are searching. It's that simple. If people are searching for business advice and you're giving business advice, and given the quality of that business advice is at least somewhat decent, you have the ability to be discovered. Now, here's what I think is missing when it comes to audio content sharing. The visual component of getting someone to click on something is unbelievably necessary. And I think that's the current landscape of social communication right now, which is that in order for me to like your photo, I have to see the photo and like it. In order for me to click on your YouTube video, your thumbnail has to be interesting, which is like the cover art for the YouTube feed, and your title has to be interesting. Those two things are quite literally the only things that are gonna get me to click on the video. Now, YouTube may recommend a video that's perfect for me based upon their algorithms, but until I click on it, they don't get the ability to monetize my attention with advertising, which is their business model. So the ability to click on it is up to the creator to really create something worthwhile to actually click on. The problem that I see, or that I think we are growing to see, is that YouTube watch times are extremely low. Like, people leave a video after a couple minutes because they move on to something else. That's why I think TikTok is exploding. I did a video on that. You can enter a new content experience every 5 seconds and you can just move on. So is there an intersection? And this is the juice of what I've been really trying to think about. Is there an intersection in which you have a visual component on a platform, thumbnail, title, cover art, that gets someone to click? But when they click onto it, they go into an audio experience. Basically, let's say the title is leadership advice, and there's a picture of like some entrepreneur talking about leadership advice, and then the title is seven best kept secrets of leaders, right? And the thumbnail is like colorful, it's bright, blah, 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 all that other stuff. Then I click on it, and it takes me just to the thumbnail, no video, the title, I can comment just like a regular like YouTube video, and it just plays the audio, just like a YouTube video would just play the video. And in the future, it would play a little 5-second advertisement so that the creator and the company can make a commission off your attention, and that would be the business model. Could a platform like that exist? The answer for why I think that is yes is because we are already used to consuming a ton of stuff through a visual content feed, whether it's YouTube or TikTok, really through audio, less with TikTok in audio, but more on YouTube. There is an abundance of amount of content that we consume on the world's biggest video platform, YouTube, that we don't really need the video component for. Now, the video component is nice, it adds an extra element of entertainment, but a lot of it, to be honest, could be played in the background, and a lot of it, to be honest, just doesn't need the video because you don't need it. You could just listen to the audio and go about your day. So a native audio sharing platform to me would be the direct intersection of both of those things. The fact that we only want audio content in terms of being able to passively consume it, right? That is the purpose of wanting audio content. But we also want the visual component to get our attention to click on the audio content. What I see right now with major distribution platforms for audio is that they are not operating like a search engine. They are not operating in the respects of giving you recommended personalized suggestions that give the potential for creators to become discovered. And if that potential does not exist, it is really hard as a creator that primarily communicates through something that's not visual, that's not immediately attention grabbing, to actually start building a following. You have to do external forms of marketing and you have to be creative, and that's totally fine. But isn't the job of these platforms to make it easier to be discovered? Like, it's not their job to just host the content. I mean, they're making billions and billions of dollars not by paying for server fees to host the content. They're making it by getting more people to become discovered so those people can build a following and keep creating on the platforms. So it seems like it's only reciprocal that they offer some potential for you to be discovered. And I think for audio spoken word creators, there is not a native platform that does that yet. For photographers, it was Instagram, and now Instagram has become something else. For dancers, it was TikTok, and now TikTok has become something else. For average, mediocre videographers, it was YouTube, and now YouTube has become something else. I think when you create the platform and give it to creators, they will use the platform in their own creative ways, and that's the beauty of giving a democratized platform. But you have to start with giving them an idea of what the platform could be used for. And I think an audio-based native platform would look like a platform in which anyone can create a channel in which they have audio ideas, and they can create cover art and a title and a description, and they can tag it, and they can have hashtags that allows people to discover it because it would be put into a search-based database in which it can actually show up and rank in search. And then it gives them the potential to click on it because they're interested enough. But when they click on it, they voluntarily know they're clicking into an audio experience, but the thumbnail and title was enough to get them to click, and then they can do whatever they want while it's playing in the background. I think that's a platform that potentially has the chance to succeed because it's using visual components to get the attention, but it's keeping your attention because it doesn't make you committed to have to stay and watch something because it's audio. The more I'm thinking of it, the more I think it just makes sense. And maybe that's because of my bias, and I would love for anyone to comment and give me their thoughts here. But like, when I go on YouTube and when I go on these platforms, I'm looking for new content, like just like everybody else. And I mean, I'm talking about YouTube a lot because I think that's the biggest place where people go to get content, like in new content. When I like refresh it, and like it's like a lottery jet thing, right? When I press it again and I get all this new stuff, I'm looking for something different. Like, I don't want to see the stuff that I've already seen before. I want to get new content. I want to discover new people. I want to have new ideas show up in my feed, and I want to give them a chance to get my attention before I go away. And I'm going to go away from a lot of them. I'm not going to like a lot of them. But the amount of people I've discovered, the amount of interesting ideas I've been able to understand, the amount of things that have changed my life simply through an application that was able to feed me new content has been monumental over the past 5 years. And I just don't think that type of platform exists for a spoken word creator. And I think if it did, and it wasn't only boxed into you have to have a podcast in which your podcast lives, but your podcast is not really being fed to people outside of clicking on like the podcast charts, like an actual platform in which you refresh a home feed and there's clips, for example, of your podcast that show up in the home feed with the title, the description, the thumbnail, and then it gives someone a reason to click and then listen to that clip, and they don't have to stay committed to the video, so they're fine to do that. I think that platform makes sense. And I don't know if I'm being idealistic about it. I mean, I'm trying to use a lot of logic and rationality here to make it make sense. People want audio, but they need a visual component to click. It's really hard to get someone to just listen to audio without having a reason to listen to it. And I think that's where the visual component comes in. I don't think that means audio Twitter will succeed. In fact, I think the concept of audio Twitter is really weird, because if someone, 140 characters is really easy to consume, and then you move on. But to listen to someone for a minute, you have to kind of care about it. And if I'm thinking audio Twitter, I'm thinking there's a bunch of different tweets that are audio. I can't listen to all of those things. Like, I could see all of the tweets and passively consume it if I'm listening to one thing, right? Like, if I'm listening to one audio tweet for a minute, there is literally no other purpose for me to be on an audio Twitter, because now I have to wait till that minute finishes, or else there's really no value to that minute in order to consume the next audio tweet. So I don't think this is audio Twitter. That's not really what we're trying to create here. What we're trying to create is more YouTube for audio, more long form audio ideas that people can passively consume, that they can go to the app and find a 1-hour lecture on philosophy and consume that. But there was something visual that got them to care about consuming it. I think that's the gap in the market space. And because there's an exponentially growing amount of audio spoken word creators, I think a platform that is there to specifically serve them through the visual component, but an audio-based platform, is what will actually incentivize them to post and create and grow the platform. I also don't think this is SoundCloud. I think SoundCloud is probably the best bet to what I'm trying to create here, but as I've looked more into SoundCloud, they have branded themselves purely as a music play. They are for musicians and artists. And the whole stereotype of a SoundCloud rapper, the whole idea behind that is you don't have the mainstream popularity to put your stuff on Spotify, even though that's becoming a lot more easier. So you do it through SoundCloud, and if you get bigger, then you go to the other platforms. I don't think that's necessarily the best business model, because then when you get super big and you just stop uploading to SoundCloud because everyone's going to these other places for music. So I don't see any incentive for people to really post there. Because the attention is not really on SoundCloud. I can see underground tracks and stuff like that, but the major distribution platforms like Spotify, Apple, they're becoming more democratized to musicians, and they're letting people post anything kind of there. So I'm seeing less value in SoundCloud, and SoundCloud, it doesn't really feed you recommended forms of content. It's always trying to feed you this new music, and they're trying to have these R&B charts and stuff. They've branded themselves as this music streaming application, and they're trying to get you to listen to new music, whereas I think music is already being dominated, and music is not that big of a niche. The reason it's not that big of a niche is because not that many people can create music. There's a lot of people creating music, but there's a lot more people that can talk about a lot more stuff, which is why YouTube is succeeding. There's a lot more people that can vlog their day, which is why YouTube is succeeding. You can't do that on SoundCloud when you've created a platform that's branded as itself specifically just for music. So I think an audio-based sharing platform would have an element of SoundCloud, which is you can search stuff and find audio results, but the feed in which an audio result or a piece of content that is an audio intrinsic idea that is recommended to you is a fundamentally different experience, particularly because of the visual component and particularly because of the brand of the platform being in essence a place for spoken word creators to go. And spoken word creators does not just mean poetry. It does not just mean comedy. It does not just mean podcasting. It means anything. If you think about content on the internet and people talking about stuff, that's spoken word. Just talking about stuff: business, finance, entrepreneurship, motivation, leadership, gaming, health, wealth, and fitness, nutrition, movies, art, film, music reviews, all of technology, sports, government, politics. All of this stuff is communicated through people talking about it. Some stuff is not going to overlap. If I want to see you play Fortnite, you can't do that on an audio-based platform. If I want to see your makeup, I can hear your review about the makeup, but I can't see the makeup, so I would go to a different platform. I don't know if audio is ever going to take over video, because visual components, and the nature of human creatures that we are, is always going to be supreme. But I do think you don't get 100%, but if you get 75% of the stuff people are creating that is rooted primarily in audio, meaning if you take away the audio, it's worthless to me, but if you give me the audio and take away the video, I still get a majority of the same experience I was gonna get in consuming that content, then I think if you build the platform to have them distribute it, that platform could take off. I feel like I talked really fast in this episode. I think I'm trying to get this episode to be less than 15 minutes that it is right now, but let me know what you guys think. I had a lot of thoughts on this. I'm happy I got it out there. That's what we're trying to build at Audea. If you didn't know what we're trying to build, that's what we're trying to build. And yeah, we'll see what happens in the next couple months. See you guys on the next episode.